Good morning, DFLers. It is Monday, May 18th. Welcome to the DFL Daily. I am Jim Hyington, the Executive Director of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party. We are here every day at 10:45 a.m. giving you the message, the tool, and the actions to take one more concrete step toward winning in the 2026 midterm elections this November. We are less than 2 weeks out from our state convention. I'm getting super excited about it. I know the team here is getting very excited as well. How many of you are going to be there? Please raise your hand or pop in the chat. We would just love to know who's going to be there so we can make sure that we are planning for you and greeting you when you get there. Before we get into today's episode, we have a few upcoming events that I want to highlight today. At the Carver County DFL, they are holding a gun violence prevention and public safety town hall at 7 p.m. In Senate District 56, they are having a DFL Cribbage Connection event at 5:30 p.m. And Cass County DFL is having the Neighbors Talking with Neighbors event at 6 p.m. today. For more information on these events or any future events, as always, you can check out dfl.org/events. Before we dive into it today, I also want to take a moment to talk a little bit about the wildfires that are happening right now in northern Minnesota. And I want to give our gratitude and thanks to all of the first responders in northern Minnesota and the Lakes regions that are doing all that they can to fight these devastating wildfires. Thank you to the local fire departments, the DNR, the governor, and for others who are acting quickly to save lives, homes, and local businesses. Our thoughts, our hearts, and our prayers are with all of the people of northern Minnesota during this terrible, terrible time. All right, let's go ahead and get into it for this week. We always start our Mondays off with the message of the week. Each week, we focus on a single message to name what Minnesotans are experiencing and lift up what DFL leaders like yourself are doing in terms of all of the good work that we're bringing to the state. And today, to help me do that, I am joined by our Senior Director, of Communications Research and Data, Asha Carroll. She's going to walk us through this week's message memo. A sneak peek this week, our focus, the headline is on DFLers Deliver for Minnesota. Asha, welcome to the call.
Thank you so much, Jim. It's great to be here. So I'll dive right in. This is what we want folks to remember as the state legislature finishes up the session. And we had a productive and very busy, and I know very newsy weekend with the legislative session wrapping up. And this week, with things finalizing, we get to tell that story. So that's our responsibility here as DFLers. This message is for your neighbors, your social media, and any community organizations you are a part of. So this week, put these ideas front and center in your communications. Democrats delivered this session. Office of Inspector General, lower car tab fees, property tax relief, stabilizing our hospitals, and bringing down costs. Democrats showed up and worked hard for Minnesotans. And Democrats passed a $1.2 billion bonding bill to keep Minnesota safe and strong.
Yeah, that's right, Asha. And I think we want to talk not only about what the Democrats have been doing and the DFLers have been doing, but contrast that with Minnesota Republicans and how they spent this session. And from my point of view, reading the headlines, Democrats spent the session solving problems. Republicans spent the session getting drunk and walking off the job.
That's unfortunately right, Jim. And it brings us to our week's capstone talking point. In the most narrowly divided state legislature in the country, House Democrat, and in Minnesota history, House Democrats, Senate Democrats, and Governor Tim Walz kept our government moving and delivered results for Minnesotans. This is the kind of collaboration that I am so proud of when I think of what it means to be a DFLer. Our DFLers are getting things done for Minnesotans. And you said it. Republicans, they're not. They're doing anything but. They're not showing up. And I'm frankly tired of reading about those antics in the news myself.
Yeah. And Asha, words are great, but we always want to root things in the facts here. So what are the facts that are backing up the message this week? What are the proof points that you want us to be bringing to the conversations that we're having at the water cooler?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Well, these facts give our message credibility. So they're so important. And this is a both and situation. We want to get the message out and we want to back it up. So here's what supports this story of what we are seeing on the ground and in the Capitol. Democrats secured one of the strongest anti-fraud reforms in state history. An independent Office of Inspector General passed 127 to 5 in the split control House and unanimously cleared the Democratic Senate. And we'll continue talking about this bill this week and giving credit where it's due on all of these to our legislators who wrote these bills and got them across the table. But that shows us that Democrats are the party of governing. A problem rose up, and we have taken substantial first steps in fixing it. The bonding bill directs $1.2 billion to infrastructure projects, targeting roads, bridges, water treatment facility upgrades across the state. That clean water is so important. These are investments in Minnesota. Another one that folks I know have been speaking so much about, HCMC, which gets roughly about 75 to 81% of its funding from Medicaid and Medicare. They were put on red alert after federal healthcare cuts threatened the hospital's survival. That's what we've been talking about with Trump's big, beautiful betrayal. When we said last fall that hospitals were in danger, this is what we were talking about, and it's affected our rural communities and now right here in the city. So Democrats' $205 million rescue package keeps the state's largest trauma center open to serve patients from around the state, not just here in the metro. So HCMC, this funding, it's an investment for all Minnesotans. This is a level 1 trauma center, and it's I'm just really happy that we're able to show up and support our hospitals in this way. And finally, the reduction in license tab fees. Okay, this is one of those things that I know so many of. I think we all have to deal with this in some way. Our Democrats work to save Minnesotans money, plain and simple. So this is going to save Minnesota drivers a total of $254 million. Making life more affordable. We keep talking about it for a reason. It is a cornerstone of our economic platform as Democrats. And with tax refunds for homeowners and reductions in tab fees, we are doing exactly that. So those are the facts.
That's great. And I think, Asha, these facts are important because what we see on the slide right now, Sylvia, I see your comment. We do have graphics of this at the end of this call. I promise we'll get that for you as well. It looks just kind of like a list of things. And these are the facts that actually back that up. We are not asking you all to memorize this full list of facts. We're asking you to pick one of these that resonates with you, your neighborhood, your community, a voter that might be on the fence. Pick one of those that's on the screen right now. And then just remember the one stat to back that up so you can really land that conversation. And my question to everybody on the call today is, what is jumping out at you here? What story comes to mind for you when you're reading the words on the screen here, when you're seeing the stats that Asha mentioned as well? To me, these tell a very, very powerful story. I would love to hear from you all in the chat. What resonates with you? I promise you all, we read this chat. We use this to make the call and make these tools better for you every single time. So please keep that feedback coming in the chat. Asha, while people are doing that, let's chat a little bit about some of the actual messaging, the do say, don't say side of things.
So just like you said, one fact, keep it simple. Start with that one thing. I'm going to bring the similar approach to do say, don't say, keeping it short. And I hope that does make it easier for folks to implement. Yeah, I think you can do these things in your communications today. When we stay focused on what families are experiencing, folks understand the stakes. Okay, so that's a do say. Here's what you can keep in mind. We do want to center Democrats in the story of session. We want to give credit for our wins. That is critically important. We don't want to center the GOP in the story of session. And you see what they do. The GOP, they want to make everything about them. Trump wants to make everything about him, and our Minnesota GOP, you've seen them out there. They're making this all about them every single day as this session has wrapped up. It's not about Minnesotans, it's about them. Let's not help them with that. Let's give the credit to our folks. Let's give our credit to Democrats. Let's give our credits to Minnesotans who stood up and said, this is what we need. Our Democrats listened and we delivered. And second, well, I just said it. Democrats delivered for Minnesotans this session. That's the line. If there's one line that I want you all to take away today, something you can punctuate in your communications, share that fact, share those proof points that Jim and I were talking about, and then just say it. Democrats delivered for who? For Minnesotans this session. It's that simple. We don't want to say, and you're going to hear us say this in our contrast, but this cannot be the one thing people remember. Republicans blocked all progress this session. We know that Republicans blocked a lot, We know that Republicans block progress, but I don't want that to obscure. I don't want that to obscure in our communications or in this overall story what our Democrats did. We cannot let them take up all the space in this room. And there is so much to celebrate that is going to practically improve the lives of our communities. Our goal is to
Yeah.
meet people where they are and center those Minnesotans in what we're doing. That's this week, that's every week from now through election day and beyond.
And Asha, you said it, right? We know. And that's the thing for these people, all of us on the call right now. We know that DFLers delivered, and we know that Republicans blocked that, but not everybody knows that. That's why this is the message right now. It might seem kind of like a very common sense message for people right now, but we need to get it out there. In fact, if you go on Twitter right now, there is a tweet from the Minnesota GOP that literally looks like they took this message, put it in Chat GPT, and are trying to claim credit for all of these things right now. This is why we do the message memo right now. We are not looking to police what people say. Honestly, we're really, really not. But what we do know, what the research that we have done shows, is that the only way that we can cut through the Republican noise and the Republican lies is to have a strong message that all DFLers deliver consistently. It cannot just be us here at DFL HQ. It has to be every local unit, every organizer, every activist, every community member, everybody who's got a Facebook page, whether it's their local units page, whether it's dog lovers for democracy, whether it's your own individual page. We need to all be talking about the same thing in the same way in order to cut through that noise. And for this week, it's about the DFLers that delivered for Minnesotans. Asha, let's go ahead and wrap it up with a few quick quotes.
Yeah, that sounds good. So I'm going to give some credit right now and by saying the exact words from some of those very DFLers who made these things happen. I couldn't be prouder of our elected officials. It has been a tough session. They have been working so hard for us against some incredible opposition. So here's what they had to say. This is a quote from Senator Heather Gustafson on the passage of her bill to establish an independent office of Inspector General. I saw that question here in the chat. Who wrote this? It's DFLers Heather Gustafson and Matt Norris. So here's a quote from the senator. Minnesotans deserve to know that public funds are being used as intended, and the creation of this office is the most significant piece of anti-fraud legislation in recent history. We're going to keep saying that. So that's from Senator Heather Gustafson. Next up, I have a quote from Attorney General Keith Ellison on funding, expanded funding to fight Medicaid fraud in his office. He said, we've already convicted hundreds of fraudsters for stealing money that should be going to Minnesotans' health care, and the resources provided by this very budget will help us double down on our record of success. I don't know about you all, but I know it's time to double down. I know how hard our Democrats are working to build solutions, frankly, right? When we see something that's not working, we fix it. And I'm so proud of us for doing that. Finally, here, I've got quotes from our legislative leadership. Senator Erin Murphy, our Senate leader, Erin Murphy. I'm damn proud that we defended many of our most essential Senate positions, including property tax relief for homeowners and direct support to counties, and funding to stabilize healthcare at HCMC and critical access hospitals around the state. And finally, from House DFL leader Zach Stevenson, this budget was a strong step forward on important issues while working in a divided government. So again, that's House Leader Zach Stevenson on the session budget deal that folks have been working hard to get across the table. And I'm so excited that these things are going to Governor Walz's desk.
That's great. Thank you, Asha. No, nothing to add there. You can't say it better than they did, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you, Asha. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for all of your work every single week on the message memo. Now for the part that I know you're all already prepared for, turning this week's message into action. Messages only matter when they lead to actual things, organizing, engaging, conversations in our own communities, and that's where you come in. That's what we need your help with. So this week, here's the action you can take right now. Share these graphics in your networks. We are putting the link to it in the chat as we speak right now. And our call to action today is, who is one person you were going to tell about how the DFL delivered this session? If you're like me and you want a little bit of light accountability, put it in the chat right now. Let us know who that person's going to be. I promise for myself, that's going to be my dad. I'm having breakfast with him later on this week. I'm going to bring some of these stats to my dad in the conversation that we're going to have. So that's it, folks. That is this week's message memo. Now you have the message, the tools, and the action to be empowered today throughout the entire week as well. Remember, DFLers delivered is the story of session. Keep that idea at the center of your conversations this week, at the center of your mind this week, and help us amplify it far and wide. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Happy Monday. See you tomorrow. We have 169 days until the November 3rd election. Let's go win this thing. Have a great day.